here I am trying to design another gun case or gun sheath for the same lever action that I have used before. I'm just eyeing things out, fitting, visualizing, and coming up with a design of my own. Again, totally impromptu and just improving things as I go. I'm just dry fitting, test fitting, and trying to come up with an idea that appeals to me. I will try more fittings, sizings, and I'll start cutting, and I'll get back to you to show you how I go along with this. Right now what I'm trying to do is coming up with a little design, so when the gun is inside the sheet, I want this little section come over and either use a snap or a little tie to make sure the rifle does not slide out, because this hide I'm using is much softer than the one I used before, so there's not much as rigidity as the other one. Therefore, I want to make sure the rifle does not slide out as you're using it. So, test driving, if you will, my design, putting the gun in and out, coming up with a pattern that will work, and that would make my life easy too. As I am again fitting the rifle, before I cut it, I realized that being a little soft, I got a little too much room in here. I may want to narrow this sheath a little more, so that if you can tell, when I press on it, the actual gun, there's an inch and a half, maybe larger excess space in here. I don't want the gun to be too loose in the sheet, but I don't want it to be too narrow either, as this is being a natural material, it'll eventually shrink. So that's what I'm trying right now. But just to show you the idea that I was referring to earlier, when I put the gun in, I want to be able to fold this to prevent this from sliding out as you're carrying. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to put a little snap here or a little button to tie it. I don't know yet. Probably a snap would be easier, but I don't know how long the snap will last. If it breaks or if it stops functioning properly, I may always replace it with something else. So we'll come up with that as we go. I am now cutting the excess material. As I mentioned, I do not want the rifle scabbard, if I'm calling it the right thing, too loose, as like I mentioned, the material I'm using is much softer than the previous one I made, so it's going to be somewhat snug. However, still has some play for the rifle to go in and out of the scabbard easily. After I remove the excess material, I will fold it in half and trace the mark to transfer it onto the other half to be able to remove about the same material as I removed from one side. I'm trying to put some clips on one end to help me line it up equally. I will now trace the excess part on the bottom half for me to remove equal amount on the other side. Right along here, so that form pretty much follows itself and mirrors it when it is folded in half. Now that I have pretty much outlined my cut for the scabbard, I'm going to hold my two sides equally and punch a few holes to help me tie a couple strings right through the holes to hold them in place. And I will be doing a series of holes, and I'll be stitching the edge. Before I do that though, I want to put some other strap pieces, and then I'll fold it in so that my life is easier to be able to attach any straps or adjustable buckles if I want to choose to attach it to something, maybe another carry-on strap to throw over your shoulders. I will come up with that design as I go. What I'm using now is this little tool, so I can trace the very edge of my scabbard all along, so that when I started punching holes for my stitches, I know what line to follow, and they will be somewhat equal, spaced out from both sides. Now I'm punching my holes for the stitching. Again, just pretty much lining my hole puncher along that line I made earlier with this scoring tool, so that they are somewhat aligned. Again, you see the scored line. I'm trying to follow my stitching holes along that line, so when it comes to the time that I need to saw this together, and I do not have a machine, so I do my stitching by hand, either what is called a saddle stitching or just freelance. I just stitch it, trying to make designs sometimes crisscross. Again, this is a very time consuming process. I do not have a sewing machine for leather. Even a manual crank sewing machine that will actually saw thicker materials are starting from around $1,300 upwards of $3,000 to $4,000 for mechanical or automatic or powered sewing machines. Again, by all means, I'm not a professional. I just tinker. I watch some YouTube videos of people doing things, so I just improvise and teach myself, or come up with the ideas what it could be done or what it should be done with, and I go just along with what I think I can accomplish. I wish I had the time, so I wouldn't mind investing in the costly machinery. That would make life easy, and it would also bring a lot more professional looking products. But I like to work with hands. I like coming up with things that I just created out of nothing. Even it looks primitive or somewhat crude, it is my creation. I made it. I take pride in it, and I love sharing with people that has the same interest as I do. The kids know that I like gummy bears and gummy cola, so it's time for a couple snacks to give me the little sugar boost to keep going at it. My stitch lines are complete all along the edges, but before I stitch things up, I will think of again maybe a little strap pieces here to be able to attach to my bag or hang it on a wall, because what you want to do is get those out of the way, because the way you gotta attach it is you'll be inside the case, the scabbard. Once you stitch it up, it'll be almost impossible. It'll be very difficult to attach something from the outside. So I'm gonna come up with an idea what I want to do, and we'll go from there.